Malika, sources tell me that Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent Alex Saratas have started open conversations that are active right now with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Steph was seen saying, we got to team up, basically. That's what the lips were reading saying.
With a back screen by Thompson on Green. Curry, a three-pointer. Bang! Steph Curry from downtown again!
No. So that's how I view it. Yeah, I believe that the best player in the world is Steph Curry. It's
Giannis and Steph together. Oh my lord! Oh my lord! That changed everything. Everything. There are options.
The Golden State Warriors might be gearing up to make their biggest move since KD landed in the Bay. Giannis Antetokounmpo, or better known in the NBA landscape as the Greek Freak, so far in his career, Antetokounmpo is a 9-time All-Star, a 2-time Most Valuable Player in 2019 and in 2020, and in 2021 he had one of the most historic finals runs, taking down the D-Book and Chris Paul-led Suns, and he is currently a top 3 player on planet Earth, and for the first time in his illustrious 13-year career, he potentially could be on the move from Milwaukee in a move that would completely alter the rest of the NBA. And with our Golden State Warriors being one of the biggest franchises in all of sports and a team known for attracting superstar talent alongside Steph Curry, the rumors have very quickly started to amount that the Warriors and Bucks could potentially make a trade at the deadline that would completely shock the rest of the NBA world, and potentially we could see the Greek Freak and the Chef combine forces to compete for a championship. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a deep dive down the Giannis trade rumor rabbit hole and see if our Golden State Warriors could potentially land the 2-time MVP, and if so, at what cost. Now, if you are a Warriors fan, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for plenty of more Warriors content, and also feel free to comment down below your thoughts on these trade rumors. And now, let's get into it. Now, why it would be so crazy if Giannis was traded? Because simply, he is playing some of the best basketball of his career. He is off to one of the best statistical starts to a season. He is averaging an absurd 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 block. But what has made this season so crazy for Giannis is he is shooting on some career high efficiencies, 63% from the field, but even more crazy, 43% from beyond the arc, and so far this season, the Greek Freak has had some insane moments.
It's on the game clock, Giannis, and with Neesmith switched out on him, Giannis with the back down, the paint away, the
Nice.
shot, it's good! Quizteros on the shot clock! Giannis with the game winner!
But despite Giannis arguably being at the peak of his powers and an MVP candidate, the Bucks have struggled massively this season, and it just seems like they are wasting his prime. They're currently sitting with a well below 500 record in the play-in range in a pretty weak Eastern Conference, and ever since that historic 2021 championship run, this Bucks roster has become more and more depleted. They lost championship stars like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton over the years, and recently they even lost superstar Damian Lillard, which now seems to have Giannis at a breaking point. And after recently suffering a calf injury that will have him sidelined for the next 2 to 4 weeks, it's not very often that an injury has any positives, but I almost think this one does. It gives Giannis the perfect opportunity to take a step away from basketball and fully evaluate his future moving forward with the Bucks, and it allows him to come to a definitive decision, and it's certainly going to be a decision that the rest of the NBA and the Bucks in particular will be waiting for. But it seems like a few teams around the league and the NBA media aren't waiting for an official Giannis decision, as the rumors around his name have started to swarm, and the Warriors have found themselves in the mix for the next Giannis destination, with teams like the Lakers and Knicks, Hawks and Spurs also being the other most likely destinations for the Greek Freak moving forward. Now, in my opinion, if you want to have a real shot at landing the two-time MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, you need to check these 3 boxes. The first one, you need to have a blockbuster trade package. If the Bucks are going to trade away their greatest player in franchise history, they will need young talent, draft capital, and a ready-made guy in return. Secondly, you need a competing roster. Following a blockbuster trade, do you still have enough star talent and depth behind Giannis to allow him to actually compete? He isn't going to want to go from one mediocre team to another. And then lastly, you need to be a big market franchise. Giannis has made it very clear over the years, if he was to leave Milwaukee, he wants to play for one of the NBA's biggest markets. And very excitingly, I think the Warriors pretty clearly tick all 3 of those requirements. Firstly, I think the Warriors could put together one of the best trade packages for Giannis. I think we have a lot of trade assets that could potentially entice the Bucks. We have young guys like Pods, Moody, Kuminga, and even Post. And the Warriors own 6 of their first-round picks from 2026 to 2032 if the Bucks are looking for a lot of draft capital. And most importantly, we do have the top-end talent to match Giannis's huge contract with stars like Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. So I think the Warriors trade package could be right up there with teams like the Hawks and Spurs. And despite needing to give up a lot in a trade to get Giannis, I still think Golden State would have more than enough talent around Giannis to allow him to compete for his 2nd championship and maybe even multiple moving forward. Now, there's one guy who goes by, I think the name of Steph Curry, if we remember him, a 4-time champion, 2-time MVP, the most threes of all time. Do I need to go any further? I don't. We know who he is and we know what he could do alongside a superstar like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just imagine these two on the same team. It would arguably form the best duo in the NBA, and just imagine the space that they would create for each other. It would be insane. And also off the court, it seems like they have a pretty good relationship with each other. So I think this would work perfectly. I'm sure they've had discussions of teaming up together in the past. And also outside of Steph, I do think the Warriors still have enough depth to actually allow those 2 stars to compete come playoff time. And in all honesty, I think Steph and Giannis on the same team could be the NBA's best chance at taking down a historic OKC team. And then lastly, the Warriors are certainly one of the NBA's biggest markets. They have certainly climbed up the rankings over the past decade, from huge crowd numbers, TV market, large media attention, and gigantic profits. Me personally, I think the Warriors would be the perfect spot to elevate not just Giannis's brand, but also his legacy in the second half of his career. And look what the Warriors were able to do for KD and his legacy when he made the move across to the Bay. So without trying to be too biased here, from all the most important standpoints, I think the Warriors make perfect sense as the Giannis Antetokounmpo landing destination to help blossom him into the next chapter of his career. But if that does end up being the case, now let's get into the important stuff. What would the details of a Warriors-Bucks Giannis trade package actually look like? Now, there is 2 things to note with this trade scenario. Firstly, it would be incredibly unlikely that Draymond Green would be involved in this deal, although it would make it a lot easier for both sides. The Warriors have come out and said they do value Draymond Green as the heart and soul of the organization, so unless Steph and Draymond both came out and signed off on it, it is very unlikely Dre will be moved. So in this situation, and in many situations when it comes to the Warriors acquiring another star, it's likely that Jimmy Butler will have to be involved, which is pretty disappointing. And then secondly, with both teams hovering around that very, very dangerous second apron, it would likely have to be a swap for swap in terms of salary in and out for both teams. So with all those boring details out the way, here is my absolute league-altering blockbuster trade proposal to get Giannis Antetokounmpo to Golden State. Now, feel free to comment down below your guys' mock trades to get Giannis over, and if you have any criticism on mine, let me know down below in the comments. But the Golden State Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, Kyle Kuzma, and then in return the Bucks get an absolute haul. They'll be getting Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, and unprotected first round picks in 2026, 2028, and 2032, and they'll also be receiving a first round pick swap in 2031. So obviously there would be a lot to break down with this trade. Firstly, just imagine the reaction from Flight if this trade actually happened. It would be priceless. Now, for the Warriors, they instantly become contenders in the West. They form one of the best big threes in the league with Steph, Draymond, and Giannis. Very good combination of offense and defense, and I would love to see that big three out on the court together. And yes, I do have the Warriors getting Kyle Kuzma in this deal simply due to financial reasons. If the Bucks want the athletic young talent in Jonathan Kuminga in return, after he got that new $20+ million contract extension, if they want him and Butler in the deal, they'll need to flip Kuzma in return, which I don't think the Bucks would mind too much. I think they'd much prefer Kuminga. And then for the Bucks, they hit the full reset button. They get a truckload of first round picks, and then they also are getting 3 solid young guys alongside those picks, and they also are getting a all-star guy in Jimmy Butler. Now, they could go one of 2 ways with Jimmy. They could keep him, try and compete, maybe get a play-in spot. We know Jimmy Butler is the play-in king, or they could further flip Jimmy Butler for even more young guys and draft picks. But me personally, I think this works out pretty well for both teams, but let me know your thoughts down below. Now, in all honesty, who knows how this Giannis situation plays out? It is certainly going to be a big watch over the next 2 months, as the trade deadline is certainly on the horizon, and it just feels like a big decision from Giannis is right around the corner, and I just couldn't help but make a video on this topic. The prospect of teaming up Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo is simply out of this world, and I do think in some reality there is a chance that the Warriors could actually pull this off. Now, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content, and feel free to comment down below how likely you think Giannis is to get to the Bay, and I'll see you all in the next one.